What's up, guys, and welcome back to another Operation Meta Report. I just wanted to start off with two announcements. First, if you guys did not catch it, thank you for supporting this channel. I'm over 100 and some on now. I saw a huge explosion last week, so I'm glad that the feedback you guys gave me about what you want to watch has, repaid itself in dividends, and I'm pretty happy about that. So thank you. For those of you who did not see that on the Operation Meteor Report this week, I am trying to figure out something I can give to the community for that. I'm just trying to figure out what exactly that is. So more announcements to come. Second, if you did not catch the end of our last meta report, if you guys want to contribute to this report, all I ask is three things. I need the number of contestants, the color combinations, and the rankings. And you can check the email below for the Operation Meteor email account. To send that to me, I can use that information to help add to this report. The more information I have, the more consistent this report gets and can give you guys insight. Especially now that we're starting off with the new Tech Challenge Season 2. This might help a few folks who are still trying to figure out a deck or figure out what the meta is looking like. I can provide that information, at least some of that information for you. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a look. I've been able to add 3 more tournaments in the last week that were pretty decent size to kind of give us an idea of what we're looking at now. All right. So since the last week, we've had the TCG Heaven Battle for the Bricks, which Ray Knight Game covered, and I was really glad you pointed this out because I went out and looked for this. And then we've had 2 Eagle's Nest, one on the 19th and the 20th, so within the last 2 days. I also went back and adjusted last week's Eagle's Nest. They finally got enough people's deck list updated to where I can use that information. So now these numbers reflect a little bit better of the trends that we should be seeing, and we can go from there. So let me go ahead and break this down to you just a bit. So with that being said, this week we've seen an uptick in blue-purple compared to previous weeks. And it looks like here, blue-white has been pretty consistent. And then there was an upsurge this week of blue-green. Oh, sorry, that's not an upsurge. Where people got back into blue-green this week, it looks like. And oddly enough, we've got a few people playing purple-red in the last few weeks that we haven't seen. So some folks are trying to see if they can make pink control a thing with those 2 colors. I will say I've seen more people trying to experiment more with red-white, and that's becoming more consistent as the weeks goes on. And yeah, let's take a look and see how that came up in our top 8s. Oof, okay, green-white taking a dive again. So green-white and blue-purple had about the same amount of meta shares in some respect in our tournament from yesterday. Whereas in another tournament, we seen them actually not even getting the top cut of the meta. Sorry, of the top 8. So there's some shifting around going on here. What surprised me a little bit was that in one tournament, blue-white did first time in the set, a blue-white deck did not make it into the top 8. So some people are going to play against blockers better, my assumption at this point. Red-white's been making a bit of an appearance now in the top 8. They dove off a little bit, and now it looks like we're going. I think this is on the advance that there's a new type of deck out there called the red-white coordinator deck, and a lot of folks are getting really into that, and it seems like it's paying off a little bit more. Not so much the Cumulative Charts build, but adding in like Cure and a few things to help that deck out a bit. Purple-red finally makes an appearance in the top 8, so we'll see. People are finding ways to get around blockers. They're doing like the aggro better. So we're getting there in terms of consistency. Green-white's not doing bad according to these numbers, but they're not doing great. Where they used to, when the meta started, they used to be one of the more high-performing decks outside of green-blue. Their numbers are kind of balancing out, meaning that it's a good deck and it performs as expected. Whereas white's kind of hanging in there and everything else is doing not too bad. I've kind of done some averages. So what I did was take all 10 weeks, add all the numbers, and then get an average. So again, some of these events weren't super detailed about what I could get for that, especially the ones in Japan. So take it with a grain of salt. But looking at this, we're looking at green, white, kind of just about expected. The deck's good. It doesn't have spikes. You just expect the deck just to play well and do well and get you into that top 8. It is winning a lot of tournaments, meaning that it's consistently performing well in that top 8, but it doesn't see a spike room. Blue-purple has fallen off a little bit. They are having a resurgence right now. As you can tell, week 9, they put up some huge numbers getting into a top 8 with multiple blue decks. And same thing, blue-white. It gets you into the top 8. You have to win one more if you want to get the Camille card in the blue tech challenge. So maybe it's worth looking at. Freedom Blockers has been really popular in the last week. Look up that deck. Psycho Gundam still isn't showing up as much as people were expecting. There's some setup with that. Appion is kind of there, but not as big as it used to be compared to like a week or 2 ago. AU, Unicorn, not seeing those. So I think the best bet if you're playing blue-white and you need time to do that, go to the Freedom Blockers blue-white deck. It seems like I'm seeing that performing better. Going down, blue-red, Cyber type. It's back, but still underperforming compared to last season. Red-white, it's making a comeback with the coordinator deck. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm seeing people playing that more with the Athrun. And of course, blue-green, the 1-year rush decks. They're good. What can you do? It's aggro. They're going to be in your face. They're going to constantly be doing things to get around blockers. They're going to tap down with armor. They're going to play high maneuver Rashard. Best thing you go for is good base cracks, good striker packs if you're playing with those, or ping them down before they have a chance to attack. So let's go and take a look at some of these numbers a little bit better. So let's take a look here. Not better numbers. Let me visually give you what this looks like. So let's take a look here. So here's our meta share. So this is what a graphical representation is up for the last 10 weeks are. You can use this as a kind of idea of what you would likely see. Green-white, still the most commonly played deck. And then followed by blue-white, then blue-purple, and then, yeah, we get down to blue-green was technically right after that. So if I were a betting man, I would say you probably, if you had 16 people, 3/4 of that be those, and then kind of filtering everyone else in. So not too unexpected from what we're seeing, but this has drastically gone down where it used to be a flat 30%, is now looking closer to a full-on, it's kind of just a full-on set at this point. All right, let's take a look at our next bit of information here, our top 8. Okay, so this chart represents what we talked about how many of these colors are sharing the top 8 spots. Green-white, blue-green are taking our tops, of course, but surprisingly, blue-white and blue-purple are actually sitting in there. Blue-purple's come up a lot in the last week or 2. I think people are finding ways to get that to being up the blocker decks, which helps them against the green-white and blue-white decks. And then, again, our smaller part of the pie here ends up being red-white and blue-red. And now we take a look at this. And yes, if you saw, I am using ChatGPT, but this is only because it breaks this information down a little bit better for me. I'm not a data scientist by any means, if you don't know, but it does give me some better insight so I can help you guys take a look at this. So this chart is a consistent conversion rate over events by deck, meaning long, short, we're taking some notes about consistency here. So according to my notes, blue-green is the most consistent performer overall. Repeated strong weeks, fewer dips. Blue-white, most volatile with high spikes, high ceiling, low floor, meaning you're gonna probably get there if you're good with the deck. Green-white, early dominance, having issues as we're proceeding in the meta, as people are learning to play around Wing Zero. Blue purple, huge spikes, inconsistent. Blue red had some good weeks, but not really showing up. And then red white kind of had a slump, like I said, and now it's making a comeback. And then I do want to share with you one more. Oh, we'll get to that big video. Whoops. And all right, so this one's kind of cool. I like how this was done. So to give you a graphical representation of how good or bad these decks are playing, this is what ChatGPT did. Took all the information I got and let us know anything in the top right corner, these are going to be our overperformers. So meaning blue white, blue green, and blue red, they outperform the popularity and effective choices. Oh, I think that's actually incorrect. It's blue green, blue purple, meaning that these guys are constant. Like, even though blue purple is not making consistent strides, when they're their number, they are doing well and they're spiking and they're overperforming compared to how many people are actually playing them. Green white and blue white, they kind of stuck there in the middle, meaning that they're playing at base. And unfortunately, these guys here, they're not doing super great. They're not playing well. Blue red, it's making it when it does. Green red, green purple, there are a lot of people trying to play these decks, and they're just not really getting very far in tournaments to get into this chart here. So basically, we're kind of looking at this. So we're looking at what to play, and you don't want to play green white wing and wing 0 Shenlong. You don't want to play blue green 1 year war. You can try blue purple mid-range Barbados decks, maybe the aggro version. You might find some good success as people are having that in the last few weeks. And then if not, try the freedom blockers, because that will least likely, if you play it well, get you in the top 8. Not to say you couldn't get the rest of these in here. I would stray away from red-white decks unless you've got a good hold on. They're barely making a comeback. So unless you can figure out how those work against those two decks, you may want to stay away, but they're making a resurgence. So it's worth trying if you don't like any of the other options and want to play something that's at least showing up. Give red-white a try. It's the red coordinators deck. You can find them on Eagle's Nest. On the website that they do their tournaments on, I believe they might be on Eggman. Actually, let's go take a look here. Let's go pull up that red deck, actually. Oops. All right, let's go to Eggman. GeoGeobands. Let's see if we can find a version of that deck. Now that I'm saying it. Now they don't, so PCG. Then that works. All right, well, let's take a look here. Pairings, standings. Yeah. So this is Limitless TCG. This is where I'm getting some of my information from for tournaments. Ray and I brought this to my attention in his video, so I am going to take a look and see if I can find Gundam card game. Okay. All right, let's grab this one here. Red, white, tempo. Maybe it's in the other tournament. Tempo, let's go to this one. There it is, red, white coordinator. So is this going to open up an image so we can get a visual? No. Okay, so this deck, we have our center blocker package being the Rec Diaz and Gundam Ulfrith. We've got the Aegis Gundam, mobile armor mode for the Breach. Sword Strike to bounce targets back into hand. The Aegis Gundam to ping level 5 or higher targets. The Ale Strike for bounce. The Gundam Versago and the Justice Gundam with Shagia, Frost, Kira, and Apterin. Our commands are close combat to finish off those weaker units as a form of control, or finish off our opponent's stronger units if we get them that low. Overflowing Affection for draw. Battled Aces to get rid of the higher end cards. striker packs for defense. So this one is not as blocker heavy because we don't have the Zolort, but we do make it up for the striker packs and this. So you still have 8 blockers on the low end, and then you do get the Hail Strike and the Justice with the Tomb. Then you have 4 bases. So not too bad. I would suggest trying this deck out if you want to go with a white-red build that isn't accumulate ping. This one seemed like it did well enough to end the tournament. End up taking 5th in a 16-person tournament. So give that a try. Let me know how that works. And one more time, I'm going to suggest that if you want to help me get more information, we have new type challenges going on starting this weekend. So if you can, get me the number of players, the rankings for the top 8, and then the color combination. With that, I can put that into the spreadsheet. I can start generating more information. The more events and player and deck information I can get with that, the more often we can try to see how strong the meta is and kind of give people some insight of, how strong a deck's doing versus how not a deck is doing. So with that, I've got nothing else. Good luck to you in your new type challenges. Hope you guys walk away with your new sign, Camille Bidon, and your Zeta Gundam prizes this weekend. And I've got nothing else. So until next time, this is Sal with Operation Meteor signing off.